On location and driven by Victor Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, it's Billified, the Bill Moran Podcast.
Thanks for getting your pod on. Thanks for telling a friend. That's how we spread the word about the pirate ship in 2023 and 2024. You know, as we come to the end of a year, I don't know that many people make New Year's resolutions, but you try to be better than you were in 2023. What is it that is the edge? What's going to put you over in 2024? And a lot of times, it's simple things that we forget. It's consistency, which sometimes gets boring. It's finding that drive to push yourself just a little bit further, which can feel boring or not fun. And I thought, well, we can all say it. We probably all sort of know it. Well, why not go to high achievers that we sat down with this past year? 2 professional athletes, a couple who are lawyers and run a very successful firm for the past 20 years. They're both in different practices of law, and a PhD. So we'll start off with Major League Soccer star Jeff Park. And Jeff is an interesting story. I love one thing he says in this. I knew I could turn it on at any moment. I always say self-awareness is so important.
So I got into it when I was, 7, 8, played the rec ball and all that. Started getting really good at it. And then fast forward to junior high, we pushed our team, like 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th grade years were really good.
Yeah.
So they knew if they pushed us, once we got to high school, for that 4 or 5 years, we're going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
So we won back-to-back states.
Wow.
Yeah, we were good, and then we should have won it sophomore year.
Pull that mic just a little closer. You can just pull the whole thing towards you.
We won states back-to-back, but we should have won it the year before that too. So we should have had 3.
So did you go on a scholarship then to college?
My grades sucked. I wasn't good at it. Wasn't good. Yeah.
I just didn't show up.
Crazy story. So I ended up going to Drexel.
Okay.
My head coach for my high school team played for the coach at Drexel.
Okay.
So he's like, look, you got to take this kid. He's not.
So you went as a walk-on?
No, I ended up getting a scholarship. Okay. So I went. They gave me a scholarship. I only went to like 2 or 3 visits. I played for FC Delco, the best club arguably in the country at the time.
Okay.
And I got overlooked. My grades weren't good. I went to Drexel. They offered me a full ride. I was like, don't have any options, but I'll take it.
Yeah.
So, they're like, look, you got to get your grades up. So crazy story was I got to the end of the year. I negotiated with my English teacher the semester before. I was like, look,
Now, where are you currently when you say
I'm
this?
in high school.
Still in high school.
I'm still in high school now.
So you're negotiating at the high school level. Yeah, I love this.
Trying to get into college.
Yeah.
Right? I need a certain GPA.
Yeah.
I was like a 2.5 or something like that. I was at the time, I knew I had to basically get A's and B's the rest of the school year.
Yeah.
So I go midterm, December-ish. I'm like, listen, Miss Purdy, that was her name.
Uh-huh.
If I get high A's the next 2 semesters, will you raise that B that I got in the second semester so that I got to get into college? And the lady was like, I'll give you a chance.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting 93, 94 the next 2 terms. And I go I get my grades at the end of the year. And I'm like, oh shit, I'm below the 2.5. If I don't get a 2.5 with my SAT that wasn't that high, I'm not going to college. So I call her. I go in after I get my final grades, and I go into the administrative office at my high school in downtown. I'm like, I got to call this teacher. She was supposed to change my past in December.
Who are you saying this to at the time?
I'm saying to the administrator, whoever was sitting at the
desk.
They
must be looking at you. Go, you're out of your fucking head, kid.
Yeah,
what are you doing?
She's looking at me like you're crazy. So I said, I need to get in hold of her. Can you call her on the phone? Basically, my scholarship, my college, all depends on her changing that B to an A.
Yeah.
So I get in touch with her. She's like, yeah, I did make that deal with you, Jeff. All right. So I give it to the administrator, right? that was sitting at the desk, and she's like, yeah, change it to an A. She changes it. My grade from like a 2 is like a 2.39, went to a 2.5.
Perfect.
And I was in college.
Let me ask you something, because I was much the same way. And my parents were teachers.
Yeah.
Right? But you have kids now.
Yep.
If you had just applied yourself.
Oh, of course.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you got 90s.
Yeah.
You were capable.
Yeah.
And does that frustrate you, like, with your own kids? Would you be harder on them because of that, knowing they have that ability? Like, that was always my thing too, is that most of the time, if I showed up, you know, it depended. Like, I ran track in the spring, and for whatever reason, every spring my grades went up.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was the running was great with like ADD and I had something, but I was always probably low 80s if I showed up, low 90s if I even just tried a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that kind of thing, it's almost like, because when I graduated high school, my father said to me, I don't know whether to shake your hand or kick your ass. That's exactly what he said. Dumber than you, got scholarships and stuff. Yeah. And I'm looking at a guy who clearly you're a smart guy, athletic guy.
Yeah.
You did it.
Yeah.
And you negotiated.
Yeah.
I mean, that's even a skill. That's a better skill.
Well, yeah.
Negotiation.
I had to figure something out, because I was like, look, if I don't get it, I'm done. Like, I don't know. I'm not going to community school.
Yeah.
I know I have the athleticism to play at the next level.
Yeah.
But how do I get myself to be able to be eligible for that?
What a great thing, though, to learn to have that drive.
Yeah.
You know, if there's a goal, to be able to reach that, and you did it.
Yeah. Well, that's what sports teaches you. I mean,
Yeah.
You got a common goal, obviously, amongst the team, and then you got your individual goal of your own performance and what you need to do to prepare yourself. And, you know, unfortunately, I didn't learn the self-performance part until I was like in my mid-20s.
What did your parents do?
My dad was self-employed. He did a lot of landscaping, contracting, and then he kind of found his niche later in life with, like, you know, basically subbing up with one of the biggest companies in the country that owns water businesses throughout all the states. So he kind of got tied up with that, and that's what made him. Because, I mean, when I was little, I mean, it was tough, you know, when you got a self-employed
well, he's working all the time. He's trying to make ends meet, right?
Yep.
And it's seasonal, most of that stuff.
And he's arguably the hardest working guy I've ever met. Never stops. It's just that you need good luck at times. And
Mom was around, I assume.
Mom was around. She ended up doing her own thing. My parents split when I was 12, which that was
tough.
That was arguably one of the biggest obstacles in my whole life. You know what I mean? I kind of went into the, you know, not the dark period, because as a kid, you don't even know it like that. You act out, you do stuff, you start drinking and, you know, smoking weed and stuff like that. And that derailed me for a while, but I always had that thing in me that I knew, you know, I could turn it on at any time.
Right.
And you know,
clearly,
I did it at the right times. I mean, obviously, like, you know, I had friends that all played sports with me, and they all kind of fell by the wayside. Still my best buds. Like, we hung out all the time. It's just that they chose to party and hang out with the girls and stuff. I just chose that I could try to find that balance, and I ended up finding it. But, you know, it always hurt my grades, because I ended up going to summer school my junior year. I was like, shit, I got to bring all my grades up now.
Yeah, but even that self-awareness, I think, is really an important thing at a young age, right?
Yeah,
what are you, junior year, 16?
Yeah,
I mean, that's fairly young.
And at that time, I had a lot of anger towards my dad and everything, because of the divorce and what was going on with the family. And I kind of, you know, I leaned on myself. I didn't really, you know, I had a relationship with him, but I didn't have that. He was my guide to hard work. He wasn't my guide to, like, what's the blueprint to success.
Would you? I always use this term. I said it once, and my mother got really offended. But I go, you're almost like a feral child.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You kind of figure it out on your own. And I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing. I think, like, parents today try to do, I mean, there's way, right?
Yeah.
The term helicopter parent, we hear it. You're also coaching now. You must witness some of that, you know, with parents in sports a little bit. But that's, I think that's amazing. So you get to Drexel.
Yep.
And you do all 4 years?
I did 4 years. I got to my my fourth year, and it's a 5-year program there.
Okay.
So I figured out, I was like, look, I got to just get by. You know, I'll load my schedule, and then I'll pick and choose, because at that time I don't know if they still can, you can go through that semester, and you can go halfway through and drop classes that you're doing bad in.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to load up. And like,
that's
whatever I do
that's
good
some
in.
Foresight.
Yeah, whatever I do good in, I keep. Whatever I do bad, I drop. And then
now you had to keep a certain credit load, right? And plus now you're a student athlete, which is like a full-time job.
Yeah. So I ended up doing real well in the beginning, and I had like a 3.0 or something like that. And then it started going down. And I'm like, all right, I need to just keep it at a certain level so that, I'm eligible for that season. So there was multiple times where I think it was like 2 years, my sophomore and junior year, my coach, Lou Emile, came up to me and was like, look, Jeff, I got to get a tutor for you the whole time, or, you need to man up and be a man and figure out how to do this balance of school, partying, and soccer. And I'm like, F off, man. Like, I got this. Like, I'm going to, now you're coming to me now when I'm not doing good, but, where were you when I was like, starting every game, basically as a freshman, running the show, helping the team win games.
So you were a starter right out of the gate.
Yeah, right out of the gate.
What position did you play?
So I was a center back in high school, and then college soccer is completely different than, like, I played with Delco. We played in a flat four. We were able to, I was playing right back, getting up and down the line. And
so more of a defensive position.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
But still,
I was in a position.
Yeah.
I get into college, and so I end up playing like in a 3-back, and I ended up. He was like, "Look, I don't give a shit what you do. You're gonna mark their best player, and just follow his ass all around the field." And I'm like,
"So you were that good a defensive player?"
Yeah, I'm like,
but not sexy. That's not a sexy thing.
I was like, no. I was like, this isn't what I signed up for, man. I was like, but I'll do it. So I would go in and I'd play the game, and I would literally just run around with like some of these All-American kids and just lock them up for the game. But I was running everywhere on the field.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't playing a position. I was just, canceling out their threat so that we would win games 2-1 or we'd lose games, 2-1. But it wasn't, it wasn't what I wanted. So I finally went to him my junior year, and I'm like, I'm done with this, man. Like, I don't want to be running around the field and just looking like I'm not affecting
the game,
our part of the game.
Sure.
I'm affecting their game, but not ours. So he's like, all right, I'll give you a chance. He puts me in midfield, attacking center mid. I end up scoring 6 or 7 goals in 5 games. And then all of a sudden we were winning games 3-2. And then it came to conference, and he's like, go right back to that market. And I'm like,
why?
I don't know.
Yeah.
He was a forward, I believe, as a coach, but they shifted their mindset from us winning games high.
See, that's to me that you're coaching not to lose,
Exactly.
which I think is a bad form.
And that's how I looked at it. I was like, look, I was like, if we can win, that's all that matters. If we win 4-3, if we win 5-2, it doesn't matter. We won.
Yeah.
You care more about if we, tie games or if we, leak goals. Who gives a shit if you're winning? Who cares?
Right.
So he ended up shifting me back to that man mark system, and we went into the conference and we did all right.
Yeah.
But same mentality. We would win games.
Now, what's the form? Everybody's familiar with the college football format's somewhat confusing, I think, for people along the way. But do you get into, with hockey, they have the Frozen Four. Do they do the same thing? Do you get down to 4 teams?
Yeah, no. They so you got your conference. You got to win out on your conference. We never won, I don't believe, the conference. And we never got – but we had – a couple years, because we had basically all the Philly kids that were kind of rejected from big schools.
Yeah.
But we had we had probably 8, 9 Delco boys that were we had a legit team.
So guys you had already played with then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was some camaraderie.
Yeah,
and stuff,
they were either a year above me or a year below me. So we had a great group. I mean, unfortunately, we didn't really do the best that we could. There was a lot of injuries and stuff that happened, and guys didn't really perform like they did at club and college, because, I mean, everybody thinks they're the shit when they're in, winning big games and stuff. But when things get hard and you're playing basically in a beer league, you're where guys just beat the shit out of each other the whole time.
Yeah.
It's different. The game wasn't sexy then. It was who can basically bully the other guy.
I played soccer for a brief period, and I didn't really understand the game, and we didn't have it coming up growing up.
Yeah.
So I had gone to West Point to a summer camp to learn to play.
Yeah.
I still couldn't really figure it out. So I used to just run through guys.
Oh, yeah.
And there was one team, they would punch me right in the face every time for whatever reason. I kind of liked it. I was like, buddy, I enjoyed that. But that's because there's a lot of movement in soccer and a lot of communication. And it's actually, if you watch at the professional level, it's a beautiful game. I mean, when they're playing, you can almost see the patterns and the triangles and if you know what you're looking for. So from Drexel, you go.
Yeah. So from Drexel, I spoke to my coach. My coach was like, look, Jeff, you want to play at the next level? And I was like, yeah, definitely do. And he's like, all right, well, I think you can. I'll make some phone calls because he obviously has been around the game for so long. He's got connections with different people. Fortunately, he coached and knew Bob Bradley, who was the Metro Stars coach at the time.
Okay.
And they were like, look, we'll get you a trial with them and Kansas City because they knew both coaches. So I was like, all right. So I basically said to myself, all right, I know I'm going somewhere.
Right.
And it comes the end of the year, and I'm like, okay. So I finished my senior year, fall season. I go into, they're like, are you going to sign up for classes? And I'm like, fuck no. I know what I need to do. So I not drop out of school. I just don't sign up for classes. So I spend the winter there at the Drexel training facility. And I was like, I'm going to train as hard as I can.
So what, like being a student athlete and all, I think it's a different thing. One of my sons is on a Division II track team. He's a thrower. So and there's workouts and scheduled stuff. But when you're doing a team sport, he's more individual, right? It's his performance, his practice, and they got, a bunch of guys. But I think it's got to be very different because then there's also meetings, right? And you probably are watching film and.
So that believe it or not, so the game has progressed so much from when I started, when I was in college, and then when I was in pro. When I was in college, we watched a little bit of film.
Okay.
Not much.
Right.
Like things weren't really as available then. Mm-hmm. You didn't really have they had all the technology now has come where you can literally have a camera on every single player or know their distance traveled. Like we used to wear the monitors and stuff. They're like little
at
sports
the pro
bras.
level.
The pro level.
Yeah.
But in college, you didn't have anything really.
Yeah.
So it was just starting to develop in the early 2000s then, and we had our meetings, but not really. So I went in and knowing that I was going to go to the next level somehow, or at least be seen. So I trained every day.
What would that take? What would that be?
So I would get up at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Did you have a coach, or were you doing this on your own?
I did it all on my own.
So this is really impressive.
Nobody even knew. They didn't really know. My only guy that knew really what I was doing was my athletic trainer.
Why did you not tell anybody?
I don't know. I think it was just look, I'm going to do this on my own.
I have a big belief a lot of times, right? That if you have an idea like that, don't tell anybody because they're going to go, man, everybody tries to get to that level. And they start to put the doubt in your head. Yeah. And if you just go and do your thing, you can do it.
I love the surprise. I love being the guy that nobody, I've always been counted out, I got cut from Delco when they first started. I got cut from States. I got overlooked constantly.
And what made you keep coming back and not give up? What is that?
It was just the self-drive, man.
Yeah,
it was
drive.
It was just I don't know.
A deep belief in yourself.
Yeah, it was just that belief. And
this is all self-made because remember, is your dad
my dad's
pushing you at all? Or
my dad was
mom?
a yeller, and he was he didn't know the sport.
Yeah.
My mom didn't know the sport. They just knew I was a great athlete.
Okay.
And they were like, whether he's a baseball player or obviously not basketball, I wasn't tall enough. But baseball I was really good at and soccer. So even till this day, I joke with my parents. I'm like, do you even know what offsides is? Do you even know what position I truly play? And they would be trying to spit it out to me. I'm like, you've watched me for 25 years and
But that's
the American way.
It is the American way, but it's a great testament to you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I was just look, it's like me going to your work and being oh, I know you're the director of your office area or you're the head secretary or whatever. but like, I don't know what that is. Like, and I ask you and I watch you go to work like once a week. I come and watch you like do your thing, run the office, run your appointments. And then I come back to you and I go, but what do you really do? You know what I mean? Like, same thing with my dad. Like, I know he's a self-made man. So I'm like, it's not like I go up to him like, all right, so do you actually do the payroll yourself?
Yeah.
Like, I know all that.
Right.
Because it's like, I guess it's just like I've been in sports and stuff so long that I've traveled. I've been able.
It's
to
just funny that you would think after 25 years that they would take like a more of an interest to even learn it, watch a YouTube video, anything at some point.
But I think that their response was always like, I just love watching you play sports,
which is quite a compliment. Yeah,
like, and it is a compliment. I mean, my parents sacrificed everything for me. You know, like they might not have been there always, but they were always willing to like get me the new cleats, always willing to drive me to practice. I mean, shit, they forgot to pick me up sometimes, but like I think that's normal.
Been there.
And then like my dad and my mom would they were divorced. My dad got remarried, and they would drive up from the Philly area up to New York.
When you were a pro.
When I was playing pro for 5 years, they came up to every single game together. Stepmom in the car, my dad.
Wow, all three of them.
Yeah, they would sacrifice everything to come watch me play.
Okay.
So it was pretty cool. I mean, I look back on it now, and I'm like, man, like, it's all my mom.
It's a great...
I mean, my mom's just, she's an unbelievable woman.
Jeff Park giving you some advice there. You got to really have that drive to be successful, right? He trained on his own. Imagine that. No coach, just doing it on your own. That's drive. And a belief that he knew he could make it. So he was going to do everything he could to get there. That's the edge we're talking about for 2024. Coming up next, a couple who have had a very successful law firm for 20 years. What makes them tick? What do they talk to their kids about? And what does it mean to really listen? Find out right after this. Iron Smoke Distillery in Fairport, New York. Come say goodbye to 2023 this weekend, because they got some great things happening over there Friday and Saturday night. And, of course, you can have some of the Iron Smoke distilled whiskeys, maybe have it made into something called a Peacemaker. It's my favorite drink over at Iron Smoke Distillery. When you're in there tonight, enjoy a Peacemaker while listening to Croon Tunes by Rich Green. That begins at 5 and goes to 8, part of the Acoustic Sunset series. And then it's 606 Foo Fighter Tribute Band playing all your favorite Foo Fighter songs, beginning at 8:30. Tomorrow night, the Acoustic Sunset sessions begin at 3:30 with Ethos. They go till 6:30. And then at 8:30, it's a big old 80s dance party with Something Else. All happening at Iron Smoke. The final days of 2023, come say goodbye with one of the hottest spots and coolest places in all of Rochester. Iron Smoke Distillery in Fairport, New York, baby.
Mac of all trades. The name says it all. 585-202-9218 and macofalltrades.net.
Comedy at the Carlson's got the laughter you need. And this Friday and Saturday night, Ed Bassmaster comes to stage. It's actually Edwin Rodriguez. He has a YouTube channel. He actually had a reality prank series, I believe, that was on CMT. And he played a bunch of different characters. The guy is super talented and super, super funny. Ed Bassmaster. And I think the prank series was the Ed Bassmaster Show, a.k.a. Edwin Rodriguez, this Friday for 2 shows and this Saturday for 2 shows, the 29th and 30th of December. And you are going to laugh your keister off right into 2024. You'll be retelling some of the jokes you hear Ed tell you on stage. You're going to be telling that into 2024, which is laughter. And you want to carry that forward with you. And you'll find it at Comedy at the Carlson. Lock your tickets down at carlsoncomedy.com. Thanks for wrapping up 2023 with Billified. This next couple, the Sercus, have had a very successful law firm for 20 years. Steve practices defense law and Merilee matrimonial law. But together, they're a dynamic duo. You're going to hear them say something that is very important for everybody that I think is often overlooked. It's the Sercus on Billified.
So we really don't, but I will say the first month that Steve joined me, we both had the same primary care physician. We both saw the primary care physician for what we thought were heart attacks. We thought we were dying from the stress of just learning to work together. But we quickly learned I handle all the finances. He handles all the other issues, takes care of all the staff because I like to be the good guy and he doesn't mind being the bad guy. Same thing with our kid rearing, by the way. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, good cop, bad cop, right?
Yes,
I mean, that's
absolutely.
the thing. But I mean, because I would argue that one of the most important decisions you'll ever make in your life is who is going to be your life partner. And sometimes in these high stress jobs that people can't relate to, shit falls apart.
It certainly does.
Yeah.
And I will say we've learned to argue very effectively. It's real quick. Steve cross-examines me. I go down. It's over.
Well, I was going to say, because is there ever a time if you're even mad, let's say something, obviously marriage, kids, just the stresses of life, all that stuff, that somebody decides to work from home and someone will work from the office just so I don't have to look at you today kind of thing?
That does happen.
I mean, I would think that sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, and Merilee likes to spend a little time down in Florida when I'm not there, so she gets her time away from me then.
I do try to run away sometimes.
Well, I think that sometimes that's almost a healthy thing. When you're
absolutely.
Right?
Oh, my gosh. During COVID, when Steve had to come home from work and I was able to stay in Florida, it was marriage saving, quite frankly. So.
Now, having no experience in law at all, it looks like it requires an unbelievable attention to detail.
It does.
And I would think a very important skill that many people lack would be the skill to listen. I think listening is actually a skill, to actually hear, because there's so much in terms of, and maybe more than that is inferential language, understanding what that is, and body language and that sort of thing. And then to think on your feet, and a love of preparation.
Yeah, listening. I saw something not too long ago, maybe a couple of years ago, and people want to listen to respond.
Yes.
And that's not what listening should be. Listening means you want to hear.
Yes.
And then you can respond.
Right.
But listening just to respond your position isn't really listening. It's just waiting for that person to take a breath.
Yeah.
And then you're going to tell them what you think, as opposed to listening and wanting to hear. But what we do, a very fine Judge Sercu, when I was a very young DA, pulled me into his office, and we were having a conversation about life. I was a young prosecutor, didn't know anything. And he said, "Steve, you know what the formula for success is?" I said, "No, Your Honor, I don't." He goes, "To be a lawyer," and you could probably use this in just about any other profession, 85% of what you should do is preparation, and the remaining 15% is going to be your presentation.
Yeah.
So 85% preparation, 15% presentation. And that's a formula that...
How much has that having, and both of you, I would ask, is having a big personality helped you both?
Oh, my gosh. For litigation, it's essential. And for sales, because we really are in the business of sales.
Yeah.
So it is absolutely
It's almost like a charm, right? I mean, and I don't even mean it like... Well, I don't mean it like that, because it almost sounds like then... And when you say things like sales, all of a sudden everybody gets the slick person in mind. And that's not what I'm saying. It's having talked to you quite a bit in recent months, one of the things is always that you want to be somebody people want to be around. Isn't that something that he seems to say? And I think that there is really that ability, and that when you walk into a courtroom and it's strangers who are potentially, if something goes to trial, are going to be making a decision, boy, that's a lot of pressure to try to get them to see things from your perspective.
That's correct. I mean, like you said, people want to be around people that are outgoing, smart, energetic, positive. I mean, look, what we do, we can't guarantee outcomes. We don't.
No.
In fact, I tell people, you might pay me all this money and lose everything. I don't know. I'm not the judge. I'm not the jury.
Yeah.
And I can't make the DA do what you want them to do. So you just have to manage expectations, but your personality is what, for us, we can at times have big personalities. We try to temper it when it's appropriate, but most of the time it is what it is.
Merilee, you seem to have almost like a traditional path, right, to becoming a lawyer. I would say, school, and then undergraduate, and then graduate school or law school. Well,
so I started in LA thinking I was going to be an Oscar-winning actress, and lived there during the Rodney King riots and
early
the
90s
big earthquake. And I came running home to Rochester.
Wow.
And was going to continue in New York City, and my father said, "You have to finish your undergraduate degree." So I went to Nazareth, finished
Where did you start?
I started at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in Los Angeles, or actually in Pasadena.
Yeah.
And then ended up coming back, finishing at Nazareth, and then I met Steve, so I was stuck.
So wait, so you wanted to be an actress first?
Yeah. So that's why I like litigation, because I love being in the courtroom and entertaining. So. Wow.
Yeah. So what? And it was just those odd circumstances that changed your idea of and not want to stay in. I mean, LA has been. I interviewed in LA. LA was one of these places that I was like, I don't know, man. I don't think I could bring my whole family out here. At the time, I was married. I had 3 kids. I'm like, And they're saying to me, well, we'll pay you this. And I go, it's not that much more than I'm making in Rochester. Well, you could also go and host a game show or, you do stand-up and stuff. I go, yeah, there's no guarantee. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it is it's a weird space out there.
Well, and everyone is there just to make something of themselves. I did not find that you really could make really good friends like you can on the East Coast.
Well, there's no authenticity.
Correct. Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, that's a big thing. And you guys are very real people that I could see that where that wouldn't really
it was
jive.
Not for me at the end of the day. But I did love it. I mean, I had a great experience.
So when you went to NAS, what was the undergrad? Because they have a big theater program, or I think now maybe more so than I don't know.
They did, actually. I had 5 majors, and I still graduated in time, but I was theater, social work, went back to theater, and then business administration.
Holy jeez.
Social work?
A little bit.
Man, that's driven. So then what attracts you to law school? Because, I have talked to your husband and your son, and they have both said that first year, it's almost like learning a new language, right? It's intense. There's a lot there. You really got to be somebody who's committed once you're going to go to law school, and also have this desire to want to help people. Because most of the people you're going to work with, you're seeing them at their lowest moment.
Certainly I do. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, see people at their saddest moment,
yes.
the hardest
yes.
moment.
Yes.
But for me, I took a business law class my senior year of undergraduate.
Okay.
And it was an adjunct professor, and I don't recall his name, but he was phenomenal. And all of a sudden, I decided I'd go to law school.
Really?
So that was really at one professor that I realized this is what I want to do the rest of my life.
Yeah. It is interesting when you find that one person that kind of teaches you. What was it for you, though? I mean, you went to Arizona State. I know what's on your mind is having fun, getting away from home as far as possible.
Yeah, honestly, my path to law school was started in my senior year, September of '88, and I was graduating from Albany in the following May with a political science economics degree. And a friend of mine who was a female, just a friend from Rochester, we'd known each other for a couple of years, said, "What are you doing next year?" And I said, just going to graduate. I have no idea what I'm doing next year. She goes, "Well, I'm going to go to law school." I'm like, "Well, what's law school?"
Yeah.
She goes, "It's 3 more years of this." It was 2 o'clock in a bar. I'm like, "I think I could do this for 3 more years." And that's how I got, then I
but it's not, though. Isn't it even
it was
more
nothing,
intense?
It was nothing, Bill, nothing could have been farther from what my thoughts were. So that particular week, it was like a Friday. The next week, there was an LSAT exam. I went and bought a book.
Yeah.
But I had to work
Yeah.
during college, so I was delivering pizzas. I looked at the book one Thursday night, 2 days before the exam, for about 7 minutes. And I'm like, we'll just figure it out on Saturday. I went and did pretty well.
Yeah.
And was accepted to law school and went to law school not having any idea what a lawyer did.
Right.
None. Zero.
He actually did not know what a plaintiff and defendant were, right?
I didn't know anything. I mean, these guys that I went to law school with, the men and women, their fathers and mothers were judges and
Sure.
lawyers and business. That wasn't, I had a great family, but none of them were lawyers. And I literally had migraines for about a year trying to figure out what I was reading.
So what is it in you then that says, I'm not giving up?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Most
If
people-
you're fighting migraines for a year, and I
Yeah.
know that because there is that, everybody has that moment, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
You quit. The greatest stories are built on the I didn't quit, right? I mean, that's what the greatest stories are. But I'm hearing she had an idea of what she was going to do. She had a professor, and she went, "This is what I want to do." So there's a drive and somewhat of a knowledge, right? And knows what she's getting into. You step in blind off the cliff. That's why I'm sorry, I shouldn't say it this way. I fucking love that.
Yeah, no,
I love that.
I literally, most of my friends will tell you, there's nobody more competitive than me.
Okay.
I mean, we don't play backgammon anymore because
Yeah.
Merilee taught me and beat me like 85 straight times.
Yeah.
The last
That's why
time
I love backgammon.
And the last time we played, I took the board and you shut the board. I threw it across the room so we don't play backgammon anymore. Very competitive.
Yeah, me too.
I was also in debt, about $22,000 at age 22.
Okay.
After my first year, said I'm going to give it another semester. I went back to school. Professor Art Levins, I'll never forget him, was a mentor to me. I was in the toughest class in law school, which is called evidence, and I was struggling. I went to see him, and he said, "Steve, are you studying?" I go, "Professor, I study 6-8 hours a night." And he said, "Well, just keep at it, and eventually, in a very short period of time, it's going to be a light switch." What do you mean? He goes, the light switch is going to go on, and you're going to understand how to be a lawyer. And 3 weeks later, I was studying evidence. The light switch went on. And law school was a cakewalk after that.
First year of law school is just a crazy intense period, but eventually the light does go on. And we've told our son that, and we're going to tell our youngest that, who's heading off to school too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a grind.
Yeah. How was the first year, Stephen?
My light has been out for the year. I haven't found it yet, so I'm still working on that. But
It's not true.
You don't look like it. Like, it doesn't look like you were overwhelmed by it.
I wouldn't say overwhelmed. It's
Okay.
definitely a change in time management and actually having to sit down and read an amount that you can't read in a night, learn how to skim efficiently, and learn how to answer a question when your name's called without knowing it's coming.
Yeah. So a lot of on your feet.
You
in
learn
the
to
moment.
cover it up.
Yeah.
You just smile through it and keep going.
All right. All right. Well, that does sound tough. But even, I mean, I got to think there's even cases, especially for you in these criminal defense cases, that at times where it's got to be like, I don't know where to go with this. And yet, is it that competitiveness that keeps you the drive, and also the idea of protecting someone's rights at the very base of it all, I would think.
That's very important. In fact,
Yeah.
in the last couple of weeks, I've had a couple of cases that some people that are friends or acquaintances will ask about what it's like to be a lawyer. And
Right.
I was just out not too long ago, and there were some people in the courthouse, and I have a rather controversial case, and they said, I can't believe, Steve, you do that. You were a prosecutor for 12 years, and now you're representing this person who's charged with a heinous crime. And I let them go on, and I said, well, I am the buffer between an overreaching government
Yeah.
and one of its citizens.
Yeah, I agree.
So you may not like what the allegations are
Yeah.
in a case, but if it wasn't for people like me, the government would run roughshod over everybody. And it would not just be the person in this particular case who's charged with what are heinous allegations, but it could be an everyday citizen who maybe made a bad mistake or a
Right.
poor decision, but nothing that should be bullied by an overreaching government. So that's what I do.
Well, this is where you're right, because the thing about anybody who's going through anything, even matrimonial and child custody situations, like I said earlier, it's your lowest, but all of that is so emotional and overwhelming, and our emotions and our thinking sometimes are they become affected. They should, if you can separate them, there may be a clinical diagnosis for you, and they may have a room somewhere for you. But that's sort of what you kind of need to do at times in life to be able to step back and see something for what it is, right? Great words to say, super hard to do. But so now take that, and if you go into a court of law, you're scared. You're not hearing what's being said exactly as it's being said. There's Latin terms that you're not going to understand fully. There's language that's not there. So that's where I always think, like, you want to go to somebody that has dedicated their life to this. And it is, and I know, because I understand that. I'm sure you know, people say heinous crime, but it's not. It's about making sure that we're protecting the rights of somebody as they were laid forth, and we don't have an overreaching for exactly that, because you know, give an inch, take a mile kind of thing. And it does go beyond whatever this heinous act is. It could be something else.
When's the last time the government didn't try to take more than...
Yeah, sure.
I mean, that's what
absolutely. We see things like eminent domain happen all the time with stuff. And I mean, there's all kinds of cases.
How about the fact years ago there was a draft? Can you imagine today?
No.
That the government comes and they're going to take one of your sons or one of my son or
Right.
son, we're going to put them in a rice field 22 hours away?
Yeah.
Are you out of your mind?
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
No, thank you. You have 3 kids. What do you teach them about not giving up on something? I mean, you say your competitiveness, but sometimes, you know, flipping backgammon boards, and I used to do that with Candyland. Is it something that you want them to be doing? You know what I'm saying? Well, I was a little kid. My dad used to always teach me, like, he would tease me. So you would get like cherry pits or whatever, and you go, and I'd have to go back, and I was like 5. I went,
I think this one to our left has done that a few times. Stephen and Steve have that fiery personality.
Yeah.
Things will fly. But, you know, I think it's very important that they have drive.
Yeah.
So Steve and I never, ever, ever told them they had to have straight A's or whatever grade. We told them to do the best for themselves, whatever
Right.
that is. If you're an A student, be an A student. If you're a C student, be a C student.
Right.
But if you're an A student, don't be a C student.
Right.
And they've actually all excelled 100% based on that on their own. I mean, Stephen has a scholarship at UB, and he still really tries hard to get the best grades he possibly can, even though he's joining our firm, and all we said is you have to pass.
Yeah.
But they just don't do that.
So what do you do to get away from it all? Because I remember, like, early on, a pediatrician saying to me, hey, you should go to therapy, because one of the boys was sort of on the spectrum, and there was a lot of therapy and different diet, right? And he's like, you can't be good for anybody else if you're not best with yourself. So here you guys are hearing some really tough things from people and what they're dealing with. What do you do to get away from it all?
So I think self-care is so important.
Yeah.
And actually, it's so important to not get you into the position of having to come see Steve or I. Because I think self-care is so important.
Sure.
I mean, if you're not happy, nobody around you is happy.
Right.
Right? So, and that's something you have to figure out. And I think that comes with age. I sadly think young people just run themselves into the ground. They give. They care too much about
Youth
what other
is
people
wasted
think.
on the young.
Wasted on the young. It certainly is. So for us, I know for Steve and I, exercise is crucial for our mental and physical health. And that is, we have to both do that every single day. But other than that, downtime, I mean, I really try hard when I travel to decompress, turn off my phone the best I can, and spend time with my friends and family. But also, I do like to shop for purses and shoes. But those are my downtime things.
Now, there's some sound advice for 2024 from Merilee Sercu of Sercu and Sercu. Self-care, something we often overlook. And it's often seen, even by ourselves, as being selfish. But maybe you need to be a little more selfish in 2024 to make yourself better and have a better year than ever. Dr. Robert Rice is the head of the Psychology Department at St. John Fisher University. He's got some insight to help you deal with life because it never stops coming at you. We'll get into that next, but first, Full Send Ski and Outdoor in Canandaigua knows you can hear this. It's the mountains calling. But is your gear ready?
Ow! My ankles are broken!
Full Send CEO Zach Hallett says,
people don't realize like how important it is. You know, your skis, your snowboards, everything needs to be serviced every year.
Full Send Ski and Outdoor will make sure your gear is in the perfect condition for the conditions.
It's very important to get that stuff done before the season because when the snow falls, everybody wants to get out there. You don't want to be put on a delay.
That's why now is the time to bring your gear into Full Send Ski and Outdoor, 175 Main Street, Canandaigua, or call 585-340-7469.
When the snow falls, we want you out there and enjoying the sport, so we make sure that we have a 3 to 5 day turnaround.
Start the season with your gear in top shape with Full Send Ski and Outdoor. See more at FullSendSkiandOutdoor.com. BTB Woodfire Pizza and Grill in the mall at Grease Ridge. You know, this Saturday is the final Saturday in December, and that means prime rib dinner at BTB. That's right. The last Saturday of the month, prime rib dinners are served, and it starts at 3 p.m. and available until they sell out. That could be 4:30. That could be 7 o'clock. I don't know. You got to get there and get that prime rib dinner. And if you're looking for a job in 2024, well, BTB is looking to add to the team. You have to apply in person. You must have management experience and be able to close weeknights and weekends. Part-time and full-time is available. BTB Woodfire Pizza and Grill. But I'll tell you what, Matt Reese and that team over there are phenomenal, and it would be a great work experience for you. So maybe do this. Maybe go in for the prime rib dinner and apply for a job, right? I mean, imagine then you have an early seat. You could get off your shift and jump right in for the prime rib dinner on the last Saturday of every month. Look, whatever it works for you. 50 TVs, not a bad spot to see the game. And, of course, watching all the miserable people walk into the mall because they're not at BTB. They're going to exchange a gift. They got the wrong size. It's just misery. Not at BTB, Woodfire Pizza and Grill in the mall at Grease Ridge.
Victor Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Route 96 in Victor, and online at victorcdjr.com.
One thing that's for sure is life never stops coming at you. So as you head into 2024, what can you do to kind of handle that? You can't stop it. You can handle your reaction. And Dr. Robert Rice, head of the Psychology Department at St. John Fisher University, has some insights to help us all in 2024. Did you ever work with adults in terms for psychotherapy in any way?
As part of my doctoral internship, I did some work with adults. I had an entire internship with adults with traumatic brain injury.
Okay, so you were more specified in your field. Where did the PhD come from?
U of R.
U of R.
Yep.
Okay. So are you a Rochester guy?
I am. I
grew
grew
up
up
here.
Penfield, went to McQuaid.
Okay. Yep.
And then went to the U of R for bachelor's, master's, and PhD. So I was at the U of R from 1994 to 2009.
Wow.
So,
yeah, that's like a 20-year run.
It was a while. Yeah, all on loans. I just got my.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, boy, they got a nice chunk of change out of you.
Yes, thank God for the public service loan forgiveness plan.
But what a great institution, right? I mean, unbelievable. U of R, really. And I think sometimes because of where we are geographically, doesn't necessarily get the love it should. In terms of nationally, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Actually, I think that it might almost be the opposite. I think people outside of here really appreciate it more than we do here.
Okay.
Because of the level of the research and the level of the education there. And so, I loved it. I was in a fraternity. I had a bunch of fun.
Yeah.
I made all the mistakes and then turned it around and did what I had to do my junior and senior years so that I could get where I am.
Yeah. Well, that's great. So here was my theory. I said to you that I had a theory. I sometimes and I've done talk therapy myself. And sometimes when I look at things, and maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I didn't use it necessarily correctly. I did have one gentleman that I really liked and all. But I sometimes feel like when we talk about whatever the problem is, we stay stuck in the problem and not necessarily the solution. And that sometimes these therapy sessions become bitch sessions, right? So we're talking about, this, that, and the other thing instead of applying some kind of thing. And that's where I found like your book. I go, well, yeah, this is interesting. You took a kid, just as an example, and applied the video game music theme because that was really where his interest lied, and we're able to get him to, you saved his parents. They should give you what they're saving in the water bill. You know what I mean? The kid who took the shower. So I'm like, that kind of stuff happens, but a lot of times I think for adults, everyday adults, we got a lot of stressors, there's a lot of this stuff that I think that we wind up almost bitching in these and not necessarily using it. And I go, boy, I don't know how therapists who do this day after day after day can hear over and over. It's almost got to become like Charlie Brown's parents at some point. Wah, 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 here we go again.
Yeah. Well, and I wouldn't be good at that. It's not the type of therapy I do. I do what's called narrative therapy, and that's really, there's so many different approaches to psychotherapy, right? And so, it's not all one thing. Some people have more of a problem-based approach, which means, they're interested in, what caused the problem, how can we resolve the problem, right? Which is, insurance companies really like that.
Sure.
And then there's other more...
Well, you forget that there is a business model to this, too. That's the other side. I just popped into my head as you said it now, which is unfortunate. And a little bit. I mean, hey, look.
Yeah, it is. And so, there's workarounds and things like that, and you write down what you have to write down for the insurance companies, and then you do what you have to do for the person. But again, the answer to your question is there's different approaches to psychotherapy. I do what's called narrative therapy or collaborative therapy, and so I'm not interested in what caused the problem. We actually don't even talk about the problem all that much in my sessions. We're more interested in what's it going to look like when it's better, right? That magic.
I think that's the greatest answer.
And then what's getting in the way? That's the closest we get to talking about the problem is what's getting in the way.
What's your resistance?
The problem is a constraint, right? It's not. It's a. And we typically would then externalize that problem, right? We want the person to see that as something that's not part of themselves, but something that they can deal with, and other people around them can unite with them to deal with. And then, it's about achieving a this too will pass type attitude, right?
Yeah. I have a friend who says that all the time, and it's their mom has always said to them, this too shall pass. Yeah. And even if it's going to pass like a kidney stone, this too shall pass, right?
It will. Yeah. Emotions are like stubbing your toe. You can't think about anything else in that moment. Because it hurts like hell, but 5 minutes later it's gone, and emotions are essentially the same way. And I've had a chance to do some really amazing work with an Indian healer, Dr. Deep from India over the past year. I met him at a Harvard conference last summer, and he asked me when he came to visit St. John Fisher in November, what's one thing you can say to me that would make me happy when I'm sad or sad when I'm happy? And actually, at the time, we were meeting with some of my mentors, and we all took a guess at what that could be, and we were all wrong. He said, "This too will pass." Right? If I'm, happy, and I think to myself, "This too will pass." If I'm sad, then right. And so, I think it's more, in my opinion, and other people who practice the type of therapy that I practice, it's more about achieving an attitude towards life and an attitude towards how to go through life and achieve your goals, as opposed to, how can I solve all these problems, and why is my life the way it is?
Okay, so as you're saying this, I always I have 3 sons, and there's always something happen. When they were growing up,
the J Crew.
The J Crew.
Yeah.
I used to always joke that it was like living in a frat house, because someone was always walking around without a shirt on, someone was probably throwing up, and someone was breaking something. Right? It was a frat
exactly
house.
like living in a frat house.
Like a frat house
I've been
all
there.
the time. And I say to my sons, who are older now, my older ones are 22 and 21, and in particular the 21-year-old, and I'll always say, sort of along those lines, life is never going to stop coming at you.
Right. Let it happen.
But what you have to do is get yourself so you just feel good all the time. So even when you're doing it, and that's what I kept thinking, like, as you're doing the music with the kid in the shower, the problem is that he's in there forever. And like I said, there can be, long showers are wonderful, but if you're not fully tiled and you've got drywall in there and stuff, you're going to have some problems after a while. You know what I mean?
Especially skin problems.
No proper ventilation. Like, it's not industrial ventilation. You go to a gym, you could be in there for an hour and there's no real damage. But you do it at home, and it starts to, you'll see, if you have wallpaper in there, it'll start peeling.
You get the mold up in the corners, 100%. Paint starts to crack.
So now you've got this kid, though, who you're making it better because you've turned it into something that he can relate to and be a game. Well, what changed? And the parents aren't coming at him anymore. They got the goal they wanted. It's the same thing, I think, for adults in life. Life's going to keep coming at you. It's kind of how you react to it. And I think most life is lived in our head.
For sure. Yeah, actually, that same kid, he had a job at...
I saw this. It was a convent, right?
A convent, which Wegmans runs.
Okay.
Apparently, I didn't realize there was such a thing, but there's this Wegmans-run convent, supposedly, and he worked in the cafeteria picking up plates after the nuns, and he hated it because every time he'd go and he'd pick up a plate, he'd bring it back to the washer, and then more nuns would come in, and they'd fill it up again, and it just felt tedious and unfulfilling because he never felt, it was just... it's the opposite of mowing your lawn, right? As you mow your lawn, the lawn grows, behind you immediately. And so he decided he was going to turn that into a game of Pac-Man. And the nuns were going to be ghosts. And the plates were going to be pellets. And that we came up with all these rules where, if he touched a nun, then, he had to go back to the start. And, if there were certain types of plates that gave him special powers where he could go in, he could, chat with the nuns during that time, and he could, and ever since that point, he became employee of the month, felt great about himself, and it really was just a different way of looking at things in his mind, as you were saying.
Well, I think, like, you go to a party and, you could go in there and leave and go, man, that was a wild party, man. People were swimming naked in the pool and all this. And I could be at the same party and go, man, that sucked. Yeah. These people were idiots. They were drunk. They were obnoxious. This one was jumping in the pool, took his clothes off, right? Same thing, 2 different perspectives. And I think a lot of times we live up in our head. And also, to your idea with the Indian healer of this too shall pass and this too shall pass. I've often said, and I don't like this thought, but it's sort of real. Things are never as good as you think they are, and they're never as bad as you think they are. They're somewhere in the middle. And
it's like a Bills season.
Yeah, man. Yeah, right, exactly. So, and that's where I so I sometimes think with the talk therapy was you felt like you just kept repeating the problem. And when your mind is stuck in the problem and you're talking about it over and over and over again, you don't get out of it necessarily. Where I like the idea of applying something to where you know what I'm saying? Like, you think this way, or change the thought, or could you look at it from this perspective, and will that be a little bit better? Or, okay, that's not going well. What is going well? Yep. Because if you have 4 things going well and 1 thing that isn't going very well, and you focus on what's not going well, I'm a big believer in energy and stuff. Everything starts to fall to shit. But if you focus on everything that's going well over here, somehow that too comes along, because you have a different approach. It's almost like an athlete being in the zone. Yeah. Right? Yeah. An athlete in the zone. There was a game last night. I think it was Houston, and I don't know who they were playing. And Houston was down, I think it was 6-3. There were twice, or at least once, in this long at-bat where I think there was bases loaded, 2 outs, full count. The guy hits the ball. It goes back into the catcher's glove. He squeezes too hard, and the ball pops out. Would have been an out. It's not. Next pitch, grand slam, they win the game.
Amazing.
Right. So you're in that zone, right? Everybody wants to be that guy. We were all that guy in our backyard. But that guy has to be on cloud 9 today, right? But had he gotten out in that same at-bat, he wouldn't probably be. You got to go to try to be on cloud 9 as much as you can because everything will start going well.
Yeah.
That's just my theory on things.
It's not a theory. That's backed up by research. So again, I'm going to encourage you to maybe consider becoming a therapist because you're doing a great job with this stuff.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind doing
Actually, get the skills and then you can therapize people here.
Well, you know what? Honestly, I wouldn't mind that. I've often thought, here was the thing, like here's a great one. To talk about this stuck in the problem, and it just popped into my head when you're talking about this. I always wanted to be on the radio as a kid. I bought FM wireless microphones, but none of my friends were into this, so I kept it secret. Like, I didn't tell any of my buddies. But I would broadcast to my brother and sister. I would tape commercials off the radio. I had 2 microphones, so I had one.
Fantastic.
I would play music, and I would do all this stuff, and then I'd run upstairs and go, "Did you hear me? Did you hear me on the radio?" Well, then I get on the radio, and I'm 19, and I'm doing overnights. And I was supposed to do it just for the summer. It was in between my junior and senior year at Fisher, and I wound up taking the year off and staying on overnights, midnight to 6, on this FM station. And I realized quickly that I got bored. I got really bored doing just the music, after a while. So I started doing things like Who's Up and Why at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I would take calls. And there was always this one guy, and he would call all the time for almost 6 months straight about how his girlfriend broke up with him, he can't sleep, and blah, 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 and all this stuff. And I remember thinking, how do you help this guy? And how do I make it interesting? Because it was the same thing almost night after night after night. And I remember once, it was awful, but I was 19 and thought it was funny. I played Everybody's Hurt, because you would tape the phone calls and then play them back. So I played Everybody Hurts underneath them.
REM.
Yep. And then, so that's playing. And then right in the middle of the conversation, a gunshot and then a dial tone.
You're kidding me.
Well, he didn't do it. Right. I did it as
a
joke.
God.
So So you see what an asshole he was? I can't be a therapist. But no, he was fine. Well, he never called again after that, really, I don't think. But in that idea of, there was always a piece of me, I hate to admit this, but I've been told by many people, I am very sensitive. You know what I mean?
Why do you hate to admit that?
I did for years, because I think it was always okay, but here we go. Here comes really deep psychological stuff that I've realized about myself over the years. Low self-esteem. All my life, low self-esteem. Felt like I was always in trouble, and probably for good reason, but I was always kind of on the edge. And I think that I was always under suspicion, even for shit that I didn't do. But and that was as a kid growing up. School was okay. I didn't do badly. If I showed up, I was probably going to get an 85, right? That was about my thing without doing much work. I don't think I ever did homework. I didn't really do anything throughout high school and stuff. And then I get to, I was going to go to college, and the only thing I really had were some decent SAT scores, because then some of my grades had kind of fallen off and this and that. And so my old man's like, "Look, you get one shot on my dime." Well, everywhere I applied to, I got in. But I got in under the idea that you would take a summer class to prove that you could handle college level work.
Yep. My
father's like, "You are going to drink your way out." So there was always that theory, right? You had that in your head of you. So and then as a child, and I've talked about this a lot on the radio over the years and stuff too, I was molested. And I didn't realize how much that really that can fuck you up in many, many ways.
Absolutely.
And so what I found was, people used to say to me all the time, "You should go into TV. And I thought TV would be cool, but I was like, one, I was self-conscious about my looks. And I didn't like the idea that people could actually see me. And I liked in radio that I didn't, at least when I began, I could be anybody I wanted to be. I could be the coolest guy in the world. I could say shit that I probably wouldn't say in person. I could do that kind of thing. So it was almost like you were able to hide. You could put on your superhero costume.
Same reason why people become furries.
Yeah. I know, which sounds so weird, right? That's a great analogy because we all look at those people and go, what the fuck did you? I mean, I think there was a guy recently that spent $14,000 to have a complete costume so he looks like Lassie.
I'm sure.
And it was on the New York Post.
Just came from my daughter's hockey team was in the national championship game in California, and we were coming back from California, and someone came through security with their full furry costume. They didn't make him take his head off. He came through security with his head on. I shit you not. It was real. I got a picture with him in the airport.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's very funny. Not a mascot.
This was a full head, yeah. Yeah, no, this guy, this is
what he did.
He identified as Wolf.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, whatever. I mean, the other thing is, like, whatever gets you through the day.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that.
Well, I mean, to get back to what you were saying before, that was, before I forget, you really can train yourself to think this way, right? I mean, for 15 years now, I've been doing 3 gratitudes a day, right? Three things that I'm grateful for. And when I first started, it was really hard. And it's always just simple stuff, pants I don't need to iron, clean water, whatever. And, when you're doing it, you're scanning your environment for things you're grateful for. And if you do that, I mean, you do that for a month straight, and I promise you that you will start scanning your environment
100%.
for things that you're grateful for when you're not even trying.
Yes.
Right?
It's almost like, what's the thing they'll do some of these conferences and things, look around the room and find everything that's green.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Green.
Grounding yourself.
Yeah. Or imagine everything, and then they have you close your eyes and now find everything that's brown. Well, you can't. You're finding everything that's green. Or you buy a car of a certain color and now you see every car that color. Is there more cars that color? No.
There's a video game for depression that I prescribe to my clients with depression, where it's a grid. It's called Psych Me Up, and it's a grid that has like 12 faces on it, and they're all making different facial expressions, and there's one smiling face. And you've got to find the smiling face and touch it, and you go through a series of 10 of these grids, and the goal is to get as fast as you can at finding the smiling face and touching it. And the clients who I prescribe this to, who actually do it, come back and say that they're noticing themselves, seeing things.
Isn't that
around,
yeah. That's really interesting because it's pretty much in our head. And that was the thing with radio for me. And then as I got older and I around more people who were authentic, and I would even say, Wheeze in particular was very authentic, that you went, well, that's the way you want to be. You want to be just who you are, and it'll work. And it somehow, I mean, that's kind of how I fell into that. And now here we are with cameras and all this shit that I was avoiding anyway. So it doesn't, I think that a lot of that stuff goes in your head, but that was how the radio thing was for me, was more to hide. And I liked being somebody I wasn't. I felt more comfortable trying to I didn't like me. I didn't like being me.
And that happened between the time of 2 and 4 years old is when most of that happened, right? When most of that lack of self-confidence and those things
really,
and that's when you're developing your template for human interactions, your way of dealing with the world, and all of our parents do their best.
Yes, no, and I agree with that too, because you could go back, and I'm sure the whole idea of your mother, but they are the voices in your head. I think that I've read a book once that said men should act as though their father were dead, and not to be mean and saying, but there's a lot of things. That's the leading figure in your life, probably the person who would approve or disapprove most of what you do. And so therefore, what would you do if he weren't around? Would you be freer to do this? Would you be freer to do that? And I can say there were certain things that certainly. Now, my dad was never a huge fan of this stuff, but I also had a big, I don't fucking care attitude too, and I'm just going to go do it. So there was that. But I think when it comes to writing, I've always wanted to write a book. My dad was a brilliant, he is a brilliant guy, and I think that would often tell me I didn't have a command of the English language, and that I had 3 clunkers in a row in my elementary school, and I never learned how to really structure. And my ideas were good, but I couldn't write. I never wrote. That was it. And I remember that I wound up, you had to take an English placement test in college. And I'm like, I'll never fucking do this. I don't think I finished the test. I was like, it doesn't matter. So I wind up in this ridiculously whatever class, and they had you write something. And this woman pulls me aside and goes, honey, you don't belong here. And I said, what do you mean? She goes, well, first of all, I want you to read what you wrote in front of the class. She goes, it's so great and rich, and it paints a picture. And she goes, and then we're going to move you out of here. And I was like, okay. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, but all that whole idea of you're an idiot, you can't, you know, and I feel bad because I don't think that was what he was trying to say.
Yeah.
I think it was, let me help you. And what I heard was, you suck.
Yeah. No,
do you know what I'm saying?
I hear it. I had a great example of a client I just saw a couple weeks ago. We were walking through the hallways. I have a private practice, Mind Fit Mental Health in East Rochester, where we do a lot of integrating games and therapy. And I was walking a client up and down the hall, and this particular client obsesses over whether or not he's doing things right constantly. You know, it's, am I making the right decision now? Am I making the right? Like almost every thought is, you know, followed by, is that the right thought to have?
Okay.
Right. And I've been seeing him for several months, and we're walking down the hall, and all of a sudden, and I asked him, I'm like, what do you think was different when you were younger? I forget what question I asked him, but he like stopped in his tracks and said, because I have autism, everyone's been telling me everyone's been looking over my shoulder my whole life, and I never know if I'm doing things the right way.
Yeah.
Right. And it was
you start to second guess yourself on everything.
It was this like aha moment where, of course, like this guy at this point, he's 23 years old, I think, and he's spent an entire life of people looking over his shoulder, well-meaning, right?
Yes.
They want to make sure he's
100%.
safe, and they want to make sure that he's, you know, fitting in. But it has, you know, all the guidance that they're giving him is, you're doing this wrong. You got to do it this way. You're not good at this.
Very glad I met Dr. Robert Rice, the head of the Psychology Department at St. John Fisher University in 2023, because he introduced me to Naughty Water. That's right. Go back and look for the Dr. Robert Rice one-on-one we did in the Billified archives. Episode 175. One more professional athlete talks about doing things even when we don't want to. We'll get to that next. But first, Woodcliff Hotel and Spa. Maybe at this point your New Year's Eve plans fell through, or you meant to make them and you didn't make them. Woodcliff Hotel and Spa to the rescue. Go to woodcliffhotelspa.com. And you can see there that you can escape the ordinary and welcome in 2024 in style at Woodcliff Hotel and Spa with a 5-course New Year's Eve menu, midnight champagne toast, and a sumptuous breakfast. Or you can have a private in-room celebration with premium meats, artisanal cheeses, and a delightful dessert masterpiece. Your choice. How fun is that? That's right. Go right now to woodcliffhotelspa.com. Overnight accommodations of your choice, sparkling wine and sweets in your room, 5-course New Year's Eve menu per person, midnight champagne toast, breakfast per person, and a 1 p.m. late checkout. Or the private in-room package. Experience the ultimate celebration as you ring in the new year in a luxurious comfort with their exclusive in-room package at woodcliffhotelspa.com. Delight your taste buds with curated selection of premium meats, artisanal cheeses, and delectable accompaniments expertly crafted to elevate your New Year's Eve experience. It's all at Woodcliff Hotel and Spa. Learn more at woodcliffhotelspa.com.
Jimmy Z's Plates and Shakes, celebrating 20 years, Main Street, Brockport, platesandshakes.com.
What does it take to be a professional athlete? A lot of sacrifice. We learned that from former New Jersey Devil and Stanley Cup winner Biran Gionta. He's also played for the Montreal Canadiens, Buffalo Sabres, Boston Bruins, and Team USA. What did hockey teach you when you look at even life now? You know, it takes a lot to get to the level and stay at the level that you played for so long. I mean, what were you, the first American captain of Montreal Canadiens?
Yeah.
I mean, what an honor that is, right? And that really speaks to you. But, boy, it takes a lot to get there. What do you carry forward in life?
I mean, and that's part of the reason I'm doing what I'm doing now, right? Like, you sacrifice so much along the way from the time you're 13, 14, 15 years old.
Yeah.
You miss out on everything, and you've made the decision to sacrifice those things and make a go at a career. And the longevity, I was very fortunate to do it for so long, and I think that's a separator. There's a lot of guys at that level that could play at that level for a day or two, but it's maintaining it day after day, game after game, year after year. For me, it was about the sacrifices you have to make and whether you're okay with it, and that's ultimately also what drew me away from the game. Is at the end of my career, like, the kids had moved around a ton. I had played 18 years and I was content going out the way I did, even though I could have gone and played a few more years. I could have gotten more contracts. It was just, at that point, things had changed and your priorities change and what you're willing to sacrifice changes.
Hard decision? I mean, in a way?
Super hard.
Yeah, sure.
It's never easy. Like
right.
You wrestle with it forever. And my last year coming out of the Buffalo contract, I had contracts for 1 year with a few different teams, Boston being one of them. Mm-hmm. And we went down, we looked at houses, we were looking to move the kids, and at the end of the day, I came back and I just wasn't ready to move the kids. So we ended up working out a way that I could still play one more season or have one more go at a Stanley Cup with doing the Olympics and then signing with Boston after the Olympics. And it worked out to be a perfect kind of send-off. It was like a semi-retirement. I was practice player for the Amerks and played the one game here in Rochester and then went off to the Olympics, had a Olympic go at it, and then also one more chance at a Stanley Cup with Boston.
How long? I mean, you add the Olympics in. How long a season are we talking about for you?
Yeah, ultimately, like I was training all summer and then skating with the Amerks from September to, what is that, January or early January when you go off for the Olympics. Olympics was a month
and you're
to 5
coming
weeks.
off an NHL season into that, right?
No, that was the 1 year that they didn't. They had non-NHL players.
Okay.
They could play in the Olympics.
Okay.
And so that was the loophole is I didn't have an NHL contract, so I could play in the Olympics that year and then come back. And I had a deal in place before I left for the Olympics, basically dropped bags from South Korea and then jumped in the car to head to Boston to start the season with Boston.
It's unreal.
Yeah.
It's unreal.
So, yeah.
Wow. So, you know, when you look at all this and I'm hearing you and you're saying, you know, the sacrifice and things that goes that way, and I'll get back to what that is. But as a guy with a family, you have to find somebody, and I have to be careful how I phrase this just for my own life. But one of the most important decisions you'll ever make is your partner.
Yeah. And
to find somebody that, and I don't know if I'm going to say this the right way or not, but sometimes the first love is hockey.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they come in. I met my wife in high school.
Yeah.
And not that she understood that hockey never comes first. You don't want to put it that way. Like life is life and things happen. But
yes,
like that's your career and you're driven and you're super successful for a reason because you're so driven.
Yeah.
And she understood the fact that I would be missing funerals. I would be missing weddings. There was times that, I mean, you're not around, and you know, without that support of her, I would have never made 18 years. And then throw kids into the mix.
That's what I mean.
And now it amplifies things even more so. You're missing birthdays. You're missing holidays. Even in the summertime when it's supposedly off, you know, you're training every day. You're skating every day, and your vacations are no longer 2-week vacations. It was, okay, we can take 3 days here because I don't want to miss workouts. I don't want to miss skates. And it would get frustrating at times, but at the end of the day, that's why we were able to be so stable in an unstable atmosphere.
Married somebody you met in high school.
Yep.
So she's been with you since, what, 17, 16?
Yeah, 15, 16.
16.
Yeah.
Wow. So this has really been a journey together.
For sure.
That's awesome.
And the biggest thing is it works because we allowed each other to grow together. Like I went to my college, she went to her college, she had her job, and then, you know, at the end of the day, she had to give up her job. She was a teacher to move to Jersey with me. So there's plenty of sacrifices that she has had to make along the way too.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to, like, you know, we think of guys who played a long time at a high level, and of course Tom Brady may be one that comes. Did you follow something similar to that in terms of diet and sleep and
Yeah, everything you do. Like it's. You think of season ends, you know, maybe if you're lucky you go into June, you're in the finals or, you know, and then it's immediately switched on to the next season and preparing for the next season. And it's 6 days a week of workouts and skates and constant, right? Like you go on the boat. That's one of the things now as you're retired, you go on the boat, you go up in the Adirondacks for the weekend. You don't have to worry about, okay, what am I eating? Am I doing enough to stay prepared? How long am I away? That type of stuff.
Right. So that's interesting to me. And now, I mean, you're still in phenomenal shape.
It's just your routine. You drop the kids off at school, go for a workout, and hang out that way, and then find something to do, whether it's golf or be on the lake.
You guys were the first team that got the cup for a day with everybody, correct?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the timing was of it, but yeah, we had the cup for a day in New Jersey.
What do you remember the most about that?
I mean, all the public stuff. We did a ton of public stuff throughout the day.
I just found my picture of you and my buddy at the mall.
Yeah, and you try to, you know, like you don't get to everyone. You try to make it as inclusive as you can and give back to the community that's given so much to you. But what you remember is the private party after, right? Like your family and friends, your close-knit people that, you know, you went to and, you know, you had a good time with that. And they enjoyed the cup. And I'll tell a quick story, I guess, if we got time. But
Absolutely.
So it was in 2003. So with Callahan and my brother, both young, they're probably, I don't know, 15, 16. I don't know the exact time, but they're young at the time. Let's put it that way. So they're thinking nothing of it. They're grabbing the cup. They're drinking out of the cup, whatever it may be. And so there's this lore that there's a curse, right? You touch the cup, you're not going to win it. So sure enough, those two guys go on, both to play in the Stanley Cup Finals, one with the Rangers, one with the Devils. Neither of them win the cup. And so I don't know if it's my cup party brought both of their cup dreams to a screeching halt or what it was.
Do you ever bring it up?
I do, but then my brother
got a couple now, right?
That's the problem. Now my brother goes and he works for Tampa Bay as a pro scout, and he's got 2 Stanley Cups under his belt. So now, first of all, these Stanley Cups are the size of the table we're sitting at now, and mine looks like a high school class ring compared to his. You know what I mean? So he makes fun of the size of my cup ring, and then that he's got 2 over my 1.
That's really funny.
But I rib him. I earned it. Like, it wasn't a scout. Like, it's a scout dude, really.
Slap down, throw down.
Yeah,
your brothers, you, Joe, and Brian, or Stevie.
Yeah.
Who wins in the bubble hockey tournament?
Oh, me all day. I got one in my basement, so it's easy. I tear the kids up with that bubble hockey, so easily I got both of them.
Now, with your brother being a scout, is there any temptation for you to go back and do something for a team, or even go into the booth at some point and do some TV?
Yeah, I dabbled in TV a bit when I was playing. I had done those stints with the NHL Network at the time, and I liked them, but there's a commitment level to it, and I haven't been ready. I did some part-time stuff with the Amherst Sabres when I first started, and you know, Kevin Adams, a good friend, GM now, he's offered, you know, if I'm ready to get into it. It's just the time commitment. I'm just not ready to give that up and sacrifice that when you only have a few years left with the kids.
Yeah.
In their prime, you know.
No, I got you, right? You're in that busy time. Your oldest is 18?
Yeah.
How many do you have? 3?
3. My youngest is 11.
Yeah, so you got
18, 15, and 11.
Yeah, but I mean, in the next 5 years,
well,
that goes
things
by
may change.
Yes,
yeah.
Right. And I think that'd be I think you'd be great in the booth, man.
Yeah, well, I thought, listen, I love PK Subban, right? But I thought he was going to be great, and I thought he stunk it up in the playoffs this year. He could have been way better.
Dressed like a pro, though.
Yeah, he does. Like, I love PK. He's a former teammate, so I can give him crap about it. But
how's the French? Is it still strong? I know you can learn it.
it's tough. I've lost all of it. My oldest son, who had the most schooling in Montreal, we came back to Buffalo, and he's taking French in school, and we have the parent-teacher conference, and he's tearing it up. He's got, you know, hundreds all across the board because it's basic vocab and maybe a little bit of sentence structure, whatever it may be. I'm like, has he told you why, like, it comes easy to him? She's like, no. I'm like, well, we lived in Montreal for 5 years. Like, his schooling was half in French. Like, he should be acing this, like, vocab test.
Then you blew him in.
Yeah, I did.
You blew him in. You can't blow him in.
You got to push him a bit.
Yes, that's true. Well, I mean, that's the thing. I got to think for you, is it hard to ever, you ever need to back off a little on the, and I don't know.
Yeah,
like,
no,
you know
I mean,
like,
it's for sure.
You know
your
what I'm saying?
expectations have to change, and like every one of my kids is different, and you have to deal with them all different.
Yeah.
Anyone that has kids realizes that.
Yes.
You can't just, not a blanket parenting style. You got to change it up with all of them. But
no, but when you've achieved so much, right, and then they're coming along, how hard that may be for you to go, come on, I'm seeing these things. You can do this, but you know.
The biggest thing is going in the pantry, grabbing a stack of Oreos or whatever. I'm like, oh, you have no idea what you're doing to yourself. Like, you're not setting yourself up. But I got to lay back on some of that stuff. Like,
I got you.
Maybe mix an Oreo protein shake or something. Give it in something else.
Yeah. That's funny. Hopefully you got something that you can take into 2024 to make it just a little bit better. My thanks to Major League Soccer star Jeff Park, the Sercus, Stephen and Merilee Sercu, Dr. Robert Rice from St. John Fisher University, and former NHL superstar and Team USA member Biran Gionta. I learned something. Just got to keep at it. Even when you don't feel like it. Get up and go, baby. Forward motion always. We'll see you in 2024, my loves.
Well, since I left California, baby, things have gotten worse. Seems the land of opportunity for me is just a curse. Tell that judge in Bakersfield, my title